Hello, welcome to Patched. I'm your host, Paul James. Today I'm joined by Matto Phillips. How's things, mate?
Sad.
Well, we're doing better than Xbox.
I think anyone is at this point.
True. Your beloved football, Essendon Football Club is doing better than the Xbox brand at the moment. And that's really saying something.
That's really saying something. Yes, I will agree with that. Absolutely.
We'll get a bit of green in my background just to, not that
Oh,
it does much, but just to take a leaf out of your book and a little bit of love being given to the Xbox brand because they've had a pretty shit week. Now, there's been, as I think pretty much anyone who's watching or listening to this show knows, there's been some pretty hard cuts at Xbox. Now, I'll quickly just rattle off like the top level stuff because we're not really going to hone too much in on that in this episode. We're mostly going to focus on kind of, I think, some of the executive level stuff where a lot of the problems, I think, in the eyes of many have kind of started. So, to kind of give everyone the top level, there's been cuts at Raven Studio. They're the team that's working on Call of Duty, or one of the teams working on Call of Duty, but specifically the campaigns. A lot of people were a big fan of what they did with Black Ops 6. They're working on the campaign for Black Ops 7 as well. Turn 10 Studio had 50% of its staff cut. Rare, the Everwild project has been now cancelled, and they've had some layoffs as well. They've also had, oh damn it, his name's Greg Males, who was like the only remaining person from the golden era of Rare. He'd been there for 35 years. He walked.
God.
He's gone.
Ooh.
ZeniMax Online Studios, they had an MMO coming up. Like, obviously, Elder Scrolls Online was already their current thing, but they had another MMO coming up called Blackbird. That's been cancelled. We'll talk more about that one in a little bit of detail later because there's a bit more nuance to that one when it comes to a conversation about the leadership. Perfect Dark and the Initiative. The Initiative, that studio has been completely closed and the game is dead. We saw that last year at the Xbox Showcase. Was looking pretty great. They had some help from Crystal Dynamics as well, but no, game's dead. High Moon is another one of the Activision the Activision Call of Duty studios. They've taken a bit of a beating as well. Sledgehammer Games have had layoffs. Blizzard have seen some cuts. There's been cuts at Candy Crush Studio. I've forgotten their name now. King have lost a bunch of employees as well. And then there's been some like ones that you don't necessarily think about when it comes to Xbox studios, but they're all teams that were working with Xbox and they've had games cancelled as well. So Romero Games, like John Romero, the father of Doom, him and his team had a game that they were working with Xbox on. It seemed clearly going to be exclusive or something along those lines. And basically, when the news came out, they then also found out that they were no longer getting funding, and so that game had to be closed. And I believe the studio might even be shuttered as well. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other fallout that undoubtedly is going to continue to kind of emerge over the course of the next week or so as we continue to learn more about it. But before we really dive into the stuff that we want to focus on, specifically leadership and kind of where the buck stops, Matto, what do you think of all the stuff as it came out last week?
Like everyone else, shocked.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much like another Carl. Like a lot of people being let go at Microsoft again. And we did say at the showcase as well, it's like, oh, they've been doing pretty good this year. It was like, oh, just wait a little bit. We said that 3 weeks ago, and it didn't take long for it to just absolutely implode on itself.
Now you say shocked, and we kind of discussed just after recording last week. We knew this was going to be our topic for this week because we'd already heard the reports that there was going to be something coming. But I think to your point, like I think I was shocked in terms of just how big it is to see the initiative completely closed. Perfect Dark, which looked like it was finally on the right track, to see that cancelled is crazy to me. I'd been hearing really good things about the MMO from Blackbird, the game from ZeniMax Online, for that to be killed as well, for Turn 10 to be gutted, and I'd imagine they basically just become a...
Yeah. That's the one that shocked me the most. Like Turn 10, the one that makes Forza games, just absolutely gutted.
To be fair, they do the Forza Motorsport games, not Horizon. So I'm wondering if Xbox has gone, Motorsport's not going to cut it, especially in this day and age where we're going. And I'm just speculating a little bit here. I'm not saying they're right for this still, but I'm wondering if this is maybe the thinking that, well, Motorsport didn't beat GT7 this time around, so Gran Turismo is kind of back on top as the king of the genre again when it comes to the simulation racing stuff. We're now going multi-platform, so if we go and put Forza Motorsport on on PlayStation, the PlayStation owners aren't going to care because they've already got a better game. So maybe we just gut this team and make them a support studio for Playground so that they can, as well as work on Fable, get Forza Horizon 6 out the door. That's maybe the rationale behind all of that. But I mean, still, 50% of the team is huge. Obviously, Everwild's dead. They've lost Greg Males, who's like probably the most important face there at the team now. Also, a whole lot of other employees too. Like the whole thing's a bit of a mess. So, I mean, I think as everyone's done, like you feel horribly for all those who've lost jobs. And the thing that I think is most infuriating for me, as I assume it is for you as well, is that we've now lost a whole bunch of people to this industry. So it's pretty rough. Not loving it. All right, so leadership then. We've all these teams have been gutted. It's an absolute mess. There's probably not a lot of faith in even a lot of the other studios. You probably wonder about what the future is for the likes of Compulsion Games and God help us Double Fine if something was to happen to them. You can go and put oh damn it, the Senua's team. I've just gone blank on their name. Ninja Theory. Like all these teams are probably high on notice at the moment. And again, probably the only one safe is Obsidian because they're managing to put out 3 games this year. But the top level, the C-suite brass, Phil Spencer and his team, what happens from here to them? Because there's been calls and like I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen it, but I know based on some social media activity, a few people have seen the post that Matt Hewson put together on the Player 2 website over the course of the week. Some speculating that we might get our Xbox privileges pulled from us and we won't work with PR anymore. I've got information to suggest that is not the case so far, given the timing of some other things that have popped up. But what happens from here? Like at the top level, like where's this come from? Like who's to blame? What needs to happen from here?
Everyone is to blame. Not the studios. It's not their fault.
No, the developers have done their thing.
It's just every moron, give or take.
Yeah, mostly. I would say the studios have done their thing. I would say in some cases, like they still can't put out like a big game of the year contender.
No.
And part of that has to lay at the foot of the developers. Like, why can't you do this? Todd Howard walks in with all the Bethesda experience, and then they put out Starfield, which just wasn't up to it. Indiana Jones is probably the closest that they've gotten, and it came out too late to be nominated, and it won't make it this year because
there are better games. Unfortunately,
well, that and it's just I think going to be forgotten because it was too long ago.
But you could probably say, I don't know, the idiots in their little office chairs who know absolutely nothing about gaming. You could also blame the 3 clowns running Xbox.
Phil, Sarah, and Matt.
Yep, those 3 clowns. And, oh, God knows. I'll say Bill Gates, but Bill Gates isn't there anymore, so we
Satya
can't blame
Nadella.
him. Just, yeah.
He's the one at the head of Microsoft these days.
Just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who to point the finger at. It's just everyone that's a higher up. Yeah. It's just somehow, yes, everyone loses their jobs, but they don't. And I don't know what the number of jobs lost at Microsoft has been in the last 5 years or so.
Well, this latest one was 9,100 people.
And before that, there was a massive one.
Yeah, there was some big cuts last year as well.
Big cuts.
And it wasn't just, to be fair, the 9,100 isn't just Xbox. It's a lot of other arms of Microsoft as well. Yeah. But we care about the gaming side here. You can keep your Microsoft Office. You can keep your, what's the AI one again? What do they call it?
Oh,
Copilot. Copilot. You can keep all that shit.
Yeah, don't worry. Throw it in the bin. Where's Clippy? Bring Clippy back.
Yeah,
Clippy will know what to do.
Wouldn't have happened if Clippy was the boss.
Yeah, if Clippy was running the place, would not have happened. Because you want to know why? He'd be asking questions. Hey, do you want some help? We're like, yeah, your company's shit.
And so, for me, when it comes to this, obviously, You're right. There's blame to be kind of shared across the board. I do think the developers probably have to cop like 10% of it because in some cases the games just haven't been of the a high enough standard to really compete and to kind of. But at the same time, the bit like the developers, the games themselves are still really really good games, and I'm more than happy to sit down and play a South of Midnight or certainly a Gears when it comes back when E-Day comes out next year or Halo, even though it's not been firing on all cylinders. Like they're all still very good games, and still like a bad release is still better than a lot of games that come out. But part of it I think has been PR HR. Like the fact that like Phil Spencer has been so open for the longest time, and he's had the leash to be able to do it. Like I mean, I understand he's the head of Xbox, and I guess he can kind of make the rules to an extent, but they've not been wise enough to shut their mouths. It was earlier this year where Phil Spencer had said on a podcast where he'd gone and checked, I think it was in February, where he went and checked out Everwild and said it was in great shape and it was looking awesome. And then there was a report that came out from when the ZeniMax Online team went and presented Blackbird to him, and a whole bunch of other executives, and everyone was really, really happy. Everyone was loving where it was at. And Phil Spencer himself couldn't put the control down. Like he was loving it. He was pumping it up. They were getting out there. The news is becoming public that they were that into it. And then the game still gets shut down. Like for a good quality product that's still being blown up here. It's not like you've got a team that's putting out bomb after bomb after bomb, and you're like, okay, we cut them here. Or the games are not selling enough, or getting enough players, or whatever stupid metrics they want. They've said too much for too long, so they've painted themselves into a corner. The teams have had to take the fall for it, and then yet the people that have got the big mouths are doing nothing. I'll also throw Matt Booty under the bus in particular, and I talk about I mentioned that 10% that maybe goes to the developers. I'm sure, and I'm going to look at the other side of the fence here and look at the PlayStation side. There have been games, I'm sure, over the years that have not been to the standard they've needed to be, and then they've come out and they've been bangers, and that's because someone like Shuhei Yoshida was there, and he was I'm talking about back when he was at his absolute, because PlayStation's not 100% firing on all cylinders at the moment either, especially when you look at the live service stuff. But the era of Shu, which was a fairly long one, when Shu was kind of the head of Worldwide Studios and kind of overseeing it, they didn't miss very often, like ever. Even the games that didn't sell, like your Puppeteers, really obscure things that most people have never played. The game itself was still excellent. They set like a really, really high bar, and he knew how to pick a game apart and understand what made it tick, so that the team could take the advice or feedback that comes from him and action it and make their game better. And I just don't think Matt Booty has a clue. And now they've got so many teams that a bloke who's got no idea is then spread way too thin. So I think a lot of this actually comes down to him, because if the games were more engaging or just plain out and out better, you'd have more people subscribing to Game Pass, you'd have more people sticking around for Game Pass, you'd have more people I mean, to be fair, the sales of Forza Horizon 5 have been amazing on PlayStation. It's already breaking even with Astrobot from all reports, and continuing to push on. And that's an Xbox game on PlayStation. So
a Game of the Year winner.
Yeah,
as well.
They've both sold about 3 million copies so far, Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation, and then like the right games are, but that's the burger, fries, and Coke. That's one arm of, or one part of that trio for Xbox: Forza, Halo, Gears. I guess there's Fable too, but that's been gone for so long it doesn't count anymore. So he just their games aren't up to standard for the most part, and so I think he's got to go. They've got to find. Hell, Shuhei these days is a free agent. Go and get Shu, as much as that would kill me inside. Go get Shu and get him to fix up your first party. Or hire him as a consultant. Teach Matt Booty how to do his job.
Or just kick Matt Booty out, like, right, you sit in the corner there, and look at the wall.
Yeah. Sarah Bond seems to be driving all the technology and kind of hardware sort of things, so she's fine in this. Phil, I would say Phil and Matt probably. Phil, there's just been too many L's with him at the helm now, and he did a great job at the beginning. Let's not forget that he inherited a shit show from Don Matrick with the.
It was fixing a big mess when he came to be the head of Xbox, but now things are starting to
It's unraveling.
crash quickly.
And I think the biggest mistake has been the Activision purchase. Like 70, rounding it off to the
70
nearest 10,
billion.
$70 billion means that all of a sudden Satya Nadella and his team at the top level of Microsoft have gone, all right, this is not the little kitty corner off the side now. We have to care about this. And now all of a sudden, every single decision gets scrutinized. And they want guaranteed winners now. So you're now looking, with some of these teams that are coming out of the mix, you're looking at Call of Duty, Halo, Gears, Forza. Not a lot else. Like they're really starting to hone in on the things that they are sure that will do well. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be that long. There's probably going to be another wave in the next 12 months, and I would see a Ninja Theory get gutted, especially if the PlayStation port is coming in August. I think it's about a week before Gears comes out. If that doesn't do well on PlayStation, if they don't get a few million sales there and kind of bump that thing up, I could see Ninja Theory getting cut. I could see what do they name? Compulsion Games. I could see them getting cut. And yeah, I referenced it before. The big worry for me is Double Fine, just as
So
they've got
they've
that
done-
indie heart,
yeah,
but that doesn't.
yes.
Their games don't sell millions.
No.
So, and I don't think Satya Nadella and his they don't care about the endearing stories. They care about dollars and cents and pleasing their shareholders. So, I worry for them. It's a shit place to be. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing at this point Phil and Matt at the very least gone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting back in the day when you used to get acquired by a big company like Xbox or Sony. It was usually a safe place, but now it has become quite the opposite nowadays.
Yeah.
Where it's just, everything it's just I don't know. It's what you see I'm just concerned now when another studio gets acquired by Xbox or Sony. I just think, oh dear, when are the job cuts coming? Instead of, what's
Yeah.
their next game? That's what I should be thinking of, but I'm not because we've seen this far too much
Seen it
in the
before.
last, 4-5 years. It's just the same thing over and over again. And it's not going to stop.
Yeah, I think COVID was a massive part of this, of course, because gaming was so huge in that time that everyone invested big. Everyone went and bought PlayStation, Xbox in particular, went and bought a whole bunch of studios. Embracer Group did the same thing, and then all three of them in particular, the crash or the other side of it all came when suddenly people, okay, we can get back outside again now, and they're not playing games at all anymore, or they're playing less. They're back to kind of a more normal amount of game time. And the profits dried up, and all of a sudden they're going, oh shit, we spent all this money. And this was the most obvious thing in the world. You didn't have to be a genius. You didn't have to have marketing or business degrees. You could be you or I sitting there going, well, when this thing stops, people are going to play less games, right?
Yes, it's like the same as when we got out. We got out of that lockdown. People were going to buy less toilet paper. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. And they did.
You've just
What
done
a shock.
this is like the carrot thing,
Yes,
and you've now just compared toilet paper to
gaming.
game studios. I like it.
Well, they're
I'm all
about
for
the same. They're about the same at the moment.
The demand was high, and then it's not. People stopped shitting. Yeah. And people stopped gaming to the same level. Yeah, I don't know. Credit to Nintendo. They didn't go heavy-handed. They just went about their business, continued to do what they did well, didn't overinvest,
It's
and they come out just fine.
like typical Nintendo. Just they had their little group, whole little bubble.
They had Animal Crossing, which helped.
Animal Crossing, yep, went gangbusters. Did they go a bit excited over their head? No, they just kept at it.
The only,
Nice.
and I'd have to double check the timeline because it may have actually happened before. It might have happened before COVID anyway. I think the only team they bought was Monolith Soft in that time, like the Xenoblade team, but I don't know when Nintendo bought them. They were kind of semi Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to find it. Not easily anyway. Oh no, Nintendo only acquired full control December of last year. But
Oh, so they came out of lockdown and just acquired them fully.
yeah, I'm double checking it, but I don't know. Yeah, that's far more recent than I thought. But anyway, um, like Nintendo just stuck stuck to what was working for them, didn't
Yeah,
change
like I
things,
said,
and
the
paid off the.
Japanese are just smart people.
And
They don't do anything stupid.
to be fair, like so, PlayStation's obviously had its challenges, but that's mostly because of where they've decided to get their developers working. Like the thing that they still did well, Bungie excluded, is that they didn't like give up the house to get these teams. They didn't, Insomniac is still the biggest deal, full stop. $300 million in a day and age where studios are being bought for billions.
Yeah,
They paid nothing for them and then got 3 Spider-Man games, a new Ratchet and Clank. There's Wolverine on the way. There's more Spider-Man coming. There's more Ratchet coming. Like this team's just they're a powerhouse. They didn't go ballistic with that, and they won big. There's some other really good acquisitions as well. From oh my god, I'm just like Housemark and all those sorts of teams they brought in. Like they've gotten some really good teams, and they didn't have to pay ridiculous amounts for them. The only downside is that they then decided to commit a few of these teams to live service, and that's not necessarily worked. I'm very interested to see what happens to Haven Studios at this point, given that Jade Raymond's now left and whatever. But that game's still in development somewhere. Obviously, we've now got a delay for Bungie's next game. What that means for Destiny and all those sorts of remains to be seen. But Marathon, yeah, who knows what happens in that space. But they didn't, outside of Bungie, where they did go big. They've made small financial investments, and then if they haven't worked, like people have been looking, I've been looking at their bottom lines. I look at their financials, and I go look at year on year, and there's basically like no change. Even though some of these games aren't working out, obviously Concord was an absolute disaster, and yet nothing impacted their bottom line. Like it was irrelevant, because they didn't pony up $70 billion and take a gigantic chip off the table. Because Xbox invested $70 billion and then couldn't afford to not put the games on PlayStation anyway. So PlayStation still gets their 30% cut from every single game that comes out anyway. So it keeps going to their bottom line. Microsoft screwed it up badly. PlayStation's not doing things perfectly. They've dodged a bullet here. This is probably their worst generation in a long, long time. But it happened when their number one competitor was 10 times worse. So
it was a big hold my beer moment.
Yeah. Well, who could do shitter on Xbox? And Phil Spencer goes, no.
Slab. That's not even a beer. That's a slab. Just here, hold my case. Or hold my Chardonnay. Whatever. Because that's like what was it? 2 years ago? 3 years ago when that happened? The acquisition of
Activision Blizzard. I think it was I think it finally got sealed at the end of 2023 or the very, very beginning of last year, because last year was the first of the Call of Duties that came out with all the marketing and all that fuss. So I think it might be getting it. Well, yeah, I mean, it was already getting marketed anyway, but all of a sudden PlayStation lost it and it was in the Xbox showcases and all that sort of stuff, even though the game is still coming to PlayStation.
Well, Jim Ryan's there probably laughing now, or he's thinking to himself, why did I choose to try and stall it when I should have just let them go? It's like, yeah, sure, here you go. Give him that 70 billion.
I don't know. In retrospect, thinking about that more, like I reckon Jim didn't make a bad call, because in the meantime, like it held Xbox up. They continued to struggle with everything else. And then they had to sign all of these deals and guarantee that Call of Duty was going to come elsewhere. So if you're the typical gamer, you go, oh, well, I don't need to go buy an Xbox now because the game still has to come to PlayStation. It still has to come to Nintendo now all of a sudden as well. They've had to lock down a streaming thing, which is where Ubisoft came into it. So why do I need to buy this thing? I actually think in the end it's worked out pretty well. I don't know if that's
just there, sitting there with his 30th anniversary PS5, just laughing at Xbox and thinking,
holding his controller awkwardly and going straight into his microphone while he's playing Helldivers. No, sorry, the original Gran Turismo, because that's what he knows. Um, so yeah, I think that kind of worked out okay. Like, yeah, the whole Activision thing, I think a lot of this begins with Activision. Not that they were flying beforehand, but you could justify Bethesda, you could justify the way they were, building Game Pass and those sorts of things. And now Game Pass is a mess. You have to be what? You have to be an Ultimate person now to get day one access to stuff.
Do
Um,
you?
yeah,
Well, I cancelled it this week, so I don't need that. I don't have that access anymore. And guess what? I don't
not
care.
missing it.
Don't miss it because I was sitting there thinking about going, why do I want it for? Because like you pointed out before, I've been playing day one release games and they've been
Fine.
okay, fine, not great. So I went on eBay yesterday and I got all 6 Gears of War games for $32.
Oh, nice.
I'm laughing. I got the Ultimate Edition for $4 dues. That's $1 a game.
I'm gonna take a
Absolutely
look.
laughing.
And this is admittedly just through EB, but the other thing is you could just buy
Well, the Xbox exclusives for like nothing.
when Gears E Day comes out, for example, you could just spend $23 on a month subscription to Game Pass, play Gears E Day,
Play it once.
and then go on with your day, rather than
Yeah.
invest. Well, it's $70 for 3 months. Do they even have a 12-month thing? 12,
No.
12 months of the core one is 90. Sorry, I'm looking at the EB website at the moment, but
They have 12-month subscriptions.
12. They have a 12-month one for the core level, which is like that, just the base level. It's
Oh.
$90.
The piggy one
But they don't have a 12-month
for Ultimate.
for Ultimate from the looks of it. Now I'll shout out Xbox, and I should have disclosed this a lot earlier on, but just prior to the big Xbox showcase, they reached out and offered me 12 months of Game Pass Ultimate, so I can check out all the games. And in retrospect, I'm going, what games?
What games?
Now
What's in
that'll
this
get me
game?
that'll get me Gears E Day, assuming that comes out in the next 12 months. That'll get me Gears E Day. That'll get me. What else? What else are they putting out?
Outer Worlds 2. That's
Outer Worlds
about
2.
it.
It'll get me all those sorts of games. Like it'll get me all of those for free, which is great. But
Tony
and,
Hawk
and
Pro
massive
Skater
thank you
3
to
and 4. Yes.
yeah, true, and a massive thank you to Xbox for that. But like it's just hard to, like, if you are just in a normal consumer thing now, you look and you go, why? Or yeah, and
This
that's
is what
I
this
guess the
person
approach
said.
you've brought to
Why?
it, right?
Yes.
Buy your
'Cause I
1
just
month
looked at it.
and bounce.
And that's all I can do. It's like, oh, I might give that game a go. Just subscribe to a month. Maybe play 1 or 2 games. And say, yeah, that was okay. And just cancel.
But also, yeah, I was gonna say, like the clowns they are, when you cancel, they refund you. Like it's
Yeah,
insane.
It's funny. It's like, oh, why are you leaving for? It's like, oh, please stay. We're ashamed to see you go. It's like, I'm not. I'm quite happy, to be honest.
Here, you can have your money
I'm
back.
never-
All right, thanks. But
Okay,
take
cool.
your money and
Thanks.
leave.
I'll take it.
Oh, the whole business practice is a mess. Any wonder they're failing. Yeah, that's I don't. And some are saying Phil's a liar and all those sort of things. I think Phil has been very very truthful with what he's believed at all times through. Well, not very very truthful, but like more often than not, I think he's been pretty upfront and honest with what he believes and where he wants things to go. But I
someone says
genuinely
no.
think, hey,
Someone higher up says no, Phil.
yeah, such as saying no. And the Activision one is, I think, the reason for it. Like everything changed with Activision, and now you can no longer. You're not in the kiddie corner anymore. You're now a seat at the grown ups table, and you've got to start making us money. And if you're not, we start cutting your team to ribbons. So I wonder, potentially how long it is. Not because obviously Microsoft isn't going to go bankrupt, of course, but maybe the Xbox brand gets completely killed. And I wonder how long it is before we get a 2010 THQ style fire sale, where they go, here you go, here's our studios, and that would be huge.
And just think about all the money they'll lose from it.
Well, no, because they just collapse it and they go, well, we get nothing. Or they could sell some of these studios and sell some of their IP that they don't care about. They're not going to get rid of Gears and Halo and Forza, like the ones who are guaranteed, and Call of Duty, of course,
So that's what
guaranteed
we're
to make
going
money.
back to. We're going back to the old Halo, Gears,
Call of
Forza
Duty,
situation again.
Forza,
Call
and
of
Fable.
Duty.
Like they're the ones. and everything else, you go, okay, for the right price, you can buy Double Fine, you can buy this person, you can buy that person, you can take this. What, like, who cares?
They could have brought the initiative and gone, right, let's make Perfect Dark.
Like, how long is it before Rare's on the table?
Oh, geez, how much? Then you wouldn't think that would be worth 300 million.
No.
That's what they purchased them for back in
Is that what they bought them for?
whenever. I think it was 300 million back in the day. I don't think they're even worth 300 million now. What? You go really try and sell with Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts? Don't think that's gonna work. Or grab by the ghoulies.
Holy shit! They spent in 2002 dollars $375 million. That's more than what Sony bought Insomniac for, and that was 20 years later.
And imagine what
Holy
happens if that, but just imagine what the inflation price would be.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, holy crap!
It could be like $1 billion or something, and that would just be laughable.
2002 to 2025 inflation calculator.
Oh, well, I
We say
want to see.
375
million, not billion.
That's 375,000. Another 3 zeros. 2002 to 2025. I almost don't want to look. What? End year should be. Oh, I guess I have to set it to 2024.
I thought it came up with an error. Thought, yeah, that would make perfect sense if it just came up error. Oh, there we go.
$676 million in 2024 dollars.
Oh,
If I rewind it maybe to 2020 to kind of compare it to the timing of Insomniac, 566, but that's still another $200 million worth and more.
But they still have, from that to 2020, they've made what? 0 games?
Yeah, they put out Sea of Thieves and nothing's come out since. That was 2017.
That was a long time ago.
And to be fair, Sea of Thieves is going strong, and it did quite well when it came to PlayStation, all those sorts of things. But March 2018. But yeah, It's 7 years now, and it's going to be probably 10 years by the time anything comes out, given that Everwild is now dead. Ridiculous. We've bashed them a bit. Any other thoughts?
No. I'd say do better, but let's be honest. That's not going to happen.
I don't think they can anymore. Well, like, it's the big tent poles. Halo, Gears, Forza, like, they're the ones that are going to do the heavy lifting.
Yes, or you can give old Booty the boot.
Yeah, give Booty the boot.
And old. Well, actually, I wonder if the Fallout 76 numbers will go up now.
More people nuking Phil.
Yep. Yeah.
Apparently been going on for a while before that whole incident last time around.
I know, but now it's just like, oh, he's pissed us off again. Come on, guys, let's go nuke his place again.
Round 20.
Fight.
All right, let's get out of here. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All the buttons are down below. Hit the notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched. We've got Let's Plays, there's shorts, and more. Visit the website, player2.net.au, for reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, links to the podcast series Patched, Player 2 Pixelcast, and Dev Diary. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2. Oh my god, what? Player2AU. Sorry, I nearly slipped into Hoops Crew mode then. /player2AU. Kick it a few bucks, lower tiers, early access, higher tiers, monthly episode exclusives, and finally there are socials. Matto
Phil.
Paul James Games for myself. The website is player2AU. And until next time, thanks a lot for watching. Good luck, Phil. But I don't know. Enjoy Helldivers.
Yeah, on Xbox.
On Xbox. Enjoy Helldivers.